Excited about our next guest here on GKW because there are some cool wrestling events happening right here in my state, the state of Wisconsin. It is Water City WrestleCon happening May 11th at the Oshkosh Convention Center. So we welcome in to talk more about that, Dylan Postal. Dylan, thank you so much for the time and jumping on. So Jay Hood's from Chicago, and he is always making fun of Milwaukee. He is making fun of Wisconsin, that Chicago's a superior wrestling, city or wrestling town. Tell everybody how good of a wrestling state the state of Wisconsin is.
Jay Wood, Chicago is quote unquote better of a wrestling city because you guys have more of it. More of anything isn't great. More broccoli isn't great.
Okay.
That's a very simple point. I mean, it's a very more steamed cabbage doesn't make steamed cabbage good. I'm saying you guys have more and you do have great wrestling. That doesn't mean it's better than Wisconsin wrestling because of it, sir.
How about more beer, sir?
Yeah. We are literally the land of beer. We're the land of beer and cheese. You guys have deep dish pizza, but then you also have a toilet as a Bears stadium to, recycle said deep dish pizza. So I thought this was going to start off well. I thought
it did not start off well.
I thought it was going to jump on this. We were going to have an enjoyable conversation. You had to bring up first, you're from Chicago, which is a check in the negative box. And then you have to try to desecrate Wisconsin wrestling, which I take to heart, sir.
Hey, listen, I don't want to get off to a bad start with you, Dylan. How's Doc Rivers doing? How's he doing?
Who's that?
Yeah.
Is that a sports reference?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I have no idea I don't watch sports. I professionally wrestle.
All right.
You guys have what? What championships or relevancy has Chicago had since the Blackhawks went to the Stanley Cup?
Is that a sports reference?
That is. That is. And we have the Bucks with probably the greatest player going in Giannis.
Yes.
We have the Packers with the youngest team right now, who at the beginning of the season didn't look so great. At the end of it, looked amazing. We have the Brewers, who's always been a contending team lately. Hey, you guys have the Bulls. They're doing a lot. The White Sox, they're the Cubs. Hey guys, let's talk wrestling con. Chicago's great.
Well, I'm in West Palm, so I have no beef in it. We have sunshine down here.
You literally have nothing.
To you.
And you don't have but you don't have sunshine now. It's been raining. My parents are down in Florida. It's been raining.
A lot else.
This sunny. Is the shittiest. Pardon my French. It's the shittiest winter season Florida's ever had.
I guess that's pretty fair also. Well, then take us inside the ring. And by inside the ring, I mean, give us what it's like for you coming up in WWE, spending so much time under the ring. What was that experience like for you when you're in the WWE?
I mean, you can hear all about it in my book, my Amazon best-selling pre-order book, Life is Short and So Am I. Cheap plug there. Available right now on DylanPostle.com. But you, man, it was a dream. 2 weeks under 10 years when they legitimately told me it was going to be 6 months. So going that long with the company that's on top of the world for so long, I mean, and continues to be, man, it was literally all I've wanted to do since I was 4. So to be able to have done that and still continuously be active as I am, it's pretty awesome.
So let's talk about how active you've been. What have you been up to since? I know ACWWisconsin.com is where people can get tickets for Water City WrestleCon at the Oshkosh Convention Center. What have you been up to?
ACW we just surpassed our 10th anniversary in December, and it started as a pipe dream. Not even a pipe dream, I was off the road with WWE. I was not a hiatus or anything, just creative, didn't have anything for me, as they say. And so I was like, I texted my 2 buddies, my 2 best friends, and I said, all right, guys, let's start running shows. And they go, nope. I go, all right, I'm going to do it without you. And they said, okay, let's go down this venture with them. And it's been awesome. And same thing, we opened a school 2 years later. And again, it was, hey, guys, I'm bored. Let's start training people. Okay. And now I'm at the school multiple nights a week. We just started a brand new class on Tuesday at the training academy, and this is on top of that. Next weekend, I leave for the UK for the Love of Wrestling convention. March is always good for the friendly neighborhood leprechaun. It's always my busy month. So I'm doing a bunch of stand-up shows coming up. I hate saying stand-up shows, evening with events. I have 2 coming up in Iowa the 3rd week of March, St. Patty's Day weekend. It's just I'm busy, but I love being busy. I really enjoy it. We started my podcast 2 years now, the Going Postal podcast, which myself and my co-host George Fees, we talk everything my career, and then we have random interviews. I just interviewed Matthews Botchamania. I've had Ethan Page and Brian Myers. I've had Kofi Kingston on there, and it's just a lot of I'm dipping my feet in a lot of lakes.
Dylan, how much has the business changed over the past 10 years? We always talk about 2024 and just say, like, as far as the indies, WWE, AEW, I just love when everybody has a chance to eat and be able to showcase what they can do. How much has the business changed in that regard?
I love eating. I love eating. But it's look at WWE right now. It is attitude era level, legitimately attitude era level hot. And there is I don't think there's any stopping it in sight. Every time you go, oh man, there's a little hiccup, they blow something else out of the water. And it's just, it's incredible. It's WrestleMania season. I am excited for WrestleMania season. Even just watching as a fan, I love it, man. I love wrestling. I tell my students all the time, and it's something to really think of about the minute, if you're an active performer, an active wrestler, the minute you stop loving wrestling, get out, because you think you're above it. You think you're past enjoying it. I love watching wrestling, whether it's good wrestling or bad wrestling, or quote unquote. I love watching it because there is something in wrestling for everyone, literally everyone. If you don't like vanilla ice cream, they'll give you chocolate. If you don't like chocolate ice cream, they got Neapolitan for you. Like, literally, wrestling gives you everything you could want. And there's so much out there, which is great. I think the more wrestling, the better. I truly, truly do.
As a performer, what was some of the encounters you've had? And you've main evented with Napoleon Dynamite, but some of the celebrity encounters, you're like, wait, they know who I am? What were some of those encounters like for you that still stick out in your brain?
I literally just talked about it again with my students. Probably the most standout thing. I just literally just talked about this Tuesday was Shaq would come a lot to shows, even without guest hosting. When he didn't do the guest hosting, he would just come to shows. It was awesome. It's incredible. I was a Shaq guy. Sure, Michael Jordan was big. I was a Shaq guy. Same as like Michael Jordan was the Hulk Hogan to my Ultimate Warrior.
Okay.
Shaq was my Ultimate Warrior. Flashy, fun to watch. Not like everyone loved Hulk Hogan. Everyone loved Michael Jordan. I loved Michael Jordan. I liked Hulk Hogan. I loved Ultimate Warrior. And so it was like, so Shaq would come, and then one taping, or I was at a Raw. He came with his kids, and he goes, "Hey man, wait." And I go, "Yes, Shaq." And he goes, "Hold on." And we were literally like walking into each other in a hallway. I was like walking, waist level to him. And it was one of those things where I go, okay, what the hell is Shaq having me wait for? And he brings his kids in the hallway, and he goes, "Man, I got to tell you, my kids didn't care about meeting John Cena, didn't care about meeting Randy Orton or Triple H even. They just wanted to meet you." And it was one of those moments where I really got to like, oh, this is pretty cool. I'm doing something pretty awesome here. And I realized it took me a bit, but I didn't realize why kids liked me so much and loved the character of Hornswoggle and the things I was doing. But then I realized, I think Finley told me one day, he goes, "They think you're one of them." I go, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, they think you're a child." I said, "I have a fucking beard." And I was like, but one of those things where, man, kids just, I mean, I had I was a heel with Finley in the beginning, and then they like had no choice but to put me in fun segments and like babyface segments. And then they had to turn Finley, which he was very uncomfortable with. And I loved seeing. He was never, literally his whole career at that point, he was never a babyface. And every week I'd go up, we'd come out through the curtain. I'd go, "You babyface," and he'd go, "Shut up, I'm not." And it was just one of those fun things that to go along with. But yeah, it was that Shaq one was definitely top level of pinch me moments of, man, this is pretty cool.
So you've mentioned now your school a couple of times. What made you want to open that?
Boredom.
It's good.
Legit boredom. Again, being off the road.
I guess.
Being off the road and again texting my co-owners of ACW and going, "Guys, we're starting a school." And they go, "No, we're not." And I go, "I'm doing it." And they go, "All right, here we go again. Another weird Dylan idea that's out there, but let's go." And now 8-9 years later, here we are. And it's we ran a bunch of shows since probably WrestlingCon last year, and 90% of the shows were members of our academy, like graduates of our academy. And I said to the students a couple shows ago, I go, "Guys, look around. There's 2 people on this show that didn't graduate from the school. That's pretty awesome to be able to say we can run shows and quality shows and have the fans go, man, that was awesome," from just students that we've produced.
What's the cross section? They're Midwest. Where are they coming from?
Wisconsin. Literally, we have people driving 5 minutes. We have people driving 2 hours a week, back and forth. I won't start anyone before 17, as much as my son hates that rule. But we won't start anyone before 17. So we've had 17-year-olds graduate. We've had a 46-year-old graduate. So there's no limit, man. And it was our first class on Tuesday, and I said to him, no matter what, body shape, body size, age, experience, sports experience, anything will get you through. Our goal, our job is to get you through. We never want to turn anyone away. Now, for safety, if it's a safety issue for themselves or for the others in the class, we might have to cut them, which really sucks. And it's a hard thing, and we push off and push off and push off. But it's a safety thing. We don't want them hurting themselves or anyone else.
We talk a lot about wrestling fans and how, territorial they are and how stupid that is, because wrestling is wrestling. So you being around so many guys throughout your career, what's it like watching others succeed? The Drew McIntyres of the world. You see the figures behind the Matt Cardonas of the world. What's that like for you from a personal standpoint, watching other guys?
You could have stopped at Drew McIntyre.
Oh, my bad. Jinder Mahal?
It's amazing. Seeing a guy like Kofi Kingston, that year of Kofi Mania, I sat and watched that WrestleMania and that match with Landon next to me. We always have, every Mania, I have students over, and it's a party. I love it. And it's something that I make sure I'm home for every Mania. I go to WrestleCon out there, wherever it is, and then I fly home for Mania, because that's just our thing. I told my son I would never miss watching a Mania with him. It's just always been my thing. We watched that Kofi Mania, and I had legit tears coming down. And I said, man, they're going to do, and watching like the end of the match, I said, they're going to, and I kept just saying, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. It's going to happen. And then it happened. I'm getting emotional now, man. Like, just thinking about that moment, and thinking about, man, he was a Jamaican guy with a crappy accent, who, if you watch his first match, it was dog dirt, because just him and the guy he worked didn't clash well. And it just, seeing the growth of him is just incredible. It really, really is. And seeing friends of mine do well. I love seeing friends of mine do well, because they deserve it. And everyone deserves. You said a good thing. Everyone deserves to eat, and especially when they got families. Ethan Page has turned into a legit best friend of mine. When Ethan Page gets his shots and he knocks every one of them out of the park, I couldn't be happier. It's just it's things like that, where guys that I've had interactions with, and now I'm seeing guys that, when I got released by WWE, worked indie shots with these guys, and they're killing it. And it's just stuff like that where I go, man, it's pretty awesome. I had a death match with Britt Baker randomly in Cleveland for AIW. We had a whole feud. And then seeing her being the #1 women's wrestler by far was just incredible.
Do you want to get
Can't
into
hear you.
professional
Sorry.
wrestling in the
Okay.
place? What made you want to get into
I
professional
was 4
wrestling in the
years
first
old.
place?
There we go. I was 4 years old, and it was in this very house. This is my grandparents' house that I purchased, and I now live in. In the living room, my grandpa rented WrestleMania 6 on VHS, and that was the moment. And the reason he rented it was because my brother always had wrestling. He had the original Hasbro series, the first series, Hasbro Series 1. He had all of them. I didn't know what they were, but my older brother had them, and I wanted to play with them. I wanted to play with them so much that my dad had to buy us another series of them, so I had my own. And he built me a wooden Hasbro ring and all that. So I literally owe everything currently in my life with wrestling to wrestling figures and to action figures, which is something I realized a couple years ago. And it was such a full circle moment of, man, I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for wrestling figures. And I wouldn't care about wrestling. I would be caring about wanting to be a Ninja Turtle. Like, and it's that kind of thing where it's just it's funny, and it's something I never thought about till a couple of years ago. And that's why. And I said when I was 4 years old, I said, I'm gonna do that. And obviously my stature was laughable. And then I had major back surgery that year, and the doctor flat out told me after the second one, the first one paralyzed me from the waist down. The second one, they said no trampolines and no contact sports. And obviously, I didn't listen to them. When I got hired, it was about 2 years later. My back surgeon from when I was a kid emailed my dad, and he goes, "Man, looks like he didn't listen to me." And my dad just responded, "Us either." So it was kind of a thing where I never. That's been my life, man. It's so like cliche to say, and I talk about it a lot in my book, but it's so cliche to say. But I never let anyone tell me no. I've always wanted to prove people wrong, almost in kind of like a self pat on the back, like a screw you kind of way. Not even like for me, but just like a, hey man, I'm gonna prove you wrong. Just that it's always been a huge thing for me.
Dylan, what advice would you give to the men and women of WWE if you were there? And I know you still are connected to them.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them regarding the story of Vince McMahon and how to process it?
I'd rather brush past that. If that's okay.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
You know, you
There's
mentioned
there's too much bullshit surrounding it.
Yeah.
That is fair.
It
You
just-
mentioned
I would just say it's when you have that at your plate, and you have, especially during WrestleMania season, people are asking the question.
Yeah.
I think that's been answered pretty well. Seth Rollins answered pretty well. Cody Rhodes has answered pretty well. I just think that
I think everyone has answered it. Everyone on that stage has answered it very well. That's all I'm going to go into. It's tough, man, guys. As you know, it's 2024. It sucks.
Yeah. You mentioned Finley earlier, and you talked about your son in wrestling.
Yeah,
What's
man.
it like watching Finley's kids now get out there? You know, he's got another kid out there in NXT. What's that like?
I was around Brogan when he was still like a toddler.
Yeah.
David, I remember being a child, seeing David as one of the most poignant guys in New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
in international wrestling is crazy to see. I text Fit all the time. Never would have thought. I just teamed with Brogan in the summer, and we FaceTimed Fit, and we go, hey, we just had a tag match, and it was so cool for me. Like, I'm just happy for him, man. I'm just friggin' happy. And if they have a quarter of the knowledge and the talent that Fit had, they're going to kill it.
Brock, I want to say thank you so much for the time. Thank you so much for joining us here. ACW Water City WrestleCon, Oshkosh Convention Center, May 11th. Make sure you check out acwwrestling.com for your tickets. Brock, once again, thank you and best of luck with ACW.
acwwisconsin.com.
Yeah, I'm sorry. acwwisconsin.com.
Awesome.